What's the matter, baby? You don't think I look pretty like this?
So you think magic tricks are great? Wait until you see a shape-shifting mutant gymnast. Of course, it's not obvious by the title itself. We're talking about Raven Darkholme, also famous by the name Mystique. She's one of the most popular and influential characters of the X-Men series, and her skills have deceived many characters, but we've also seen her being burdened with time-altering decisions in the movie Days of Future Past. Played by the talented Rebecca Romijn and Jennifer Lawrence, this character is one of the boldest, bravest, and smartest mutants out there. And why should you take our word for it? Well, we're about to show you her best moments on screen. Starting off the list, we have Mystique trying to deceive Apocalypse. We all have that moment when we try to give a helping hand to a friend but get tangled in a worse situation than the original situation itself. Best example for this is Mystique trying to save Quicksilver when he's attacked by Apocalypse. Now at first, Quicksilver gives a few punches to this ancient god but soon finds that Apocalypse can match his speed as well. After breaking his arm and leg, Apocalypse asks Psylocke to finish him off, but instead she raises her sword to attack Apocalypse himself. As the god captures her and strangles her, she's revealed to be Mystique in disguise.
Charles! Rescue your weakling!
The pressure on her body forces her to change her appearance, and Apocalypse uses her for his advantage to lure Charles out of his hiding spot. Even though her rescue mission actually turned out to be a burden for the rest of the team, we have to give her credit for stepping up to rescue Quicksilver, because at that moment, she was the only woman who came out of her hiding spot to challenge a 2,000-year-old god.
Whatever lessons you learned in school, whatever your parents taught you, none of that matters.
Training new X-Men comes in at number 9. Epic motivational speeches are a sure thing to behold, but we can assure you that no one can give an epic speech like Mystique. Becoming X-Men isn't easy as being a new member of the Avengers. Unlike superheroes, the world views mutants at a different angle, claiming that they're monsters. So if you're born a mutant, you're probably not going to have a pleasant childhood. The mutants arriving at the Xavier Mansion are either physically or mentally traumatized, so what they all need is something to lift their spirits. Mystique delivers the speech everyone needs to hear by explaining how the mutants are important to society and how they can use their powers for heroism. She also upheaves their skills and calls them the X-Men and helps the new students to view themselves in a different light.
You're X-Men.
With her speech, we can see she not only impresses the student, but Professor Xavier as well. Come to think of it, she'd definitely have a career in the cadets if she decides to leave the X-Men.
I'm not giving this on you, Jean. This is what family does. We take care of each other. You're my family, Jean. No matter what.
Mystique's death makes the number 8 spot. Once again, Mystique takes her chances and falls into her doom trying to do something virtuous. Those who watched X-Men The Last Stand knew there was no way you can talk sense to a mind-altered Jean, but Mystique still tries to convince Jean to assist them while the other teammates are forced to fight her.
Please, stop.
Not until I know you're gonna be okay.
This also showed the honest side of Mystique and managed to display how much she'd changed. The old Mystique would have probably tried to convince Jean by disguising herself as her father or someone even close to her, but this timeline's Mystique had learned her lesson and tries to convince Jean just using her words alone. But her own honesty and benevolence backfires as she's thrown away along with the wooden splinters. One splinter impales her and she dies at the crying hands of the Beast. This was one of the most shocking and most devastating scenes in the movie and managed to bring tears to everyone's eyes.
He's a goddamn spy. You brought a goddamn spy into this.
Coming in at number 7 is Mystique impressing the senators. Showing a magic trick to a child is a simple way to impress them, right? Now replace these children with senators and the magic trick with Mystique, and this is the scene you get. When the mutants are first introduced to the world, everyone has trouble believing them, so the best way to show them is to bring a mutant forward and tell them to display their skill.
How's that for a magic trick?
Professor Charles didn't seem to think about this, so it's Mystique who decides to take the matters in her own hands. While the senators are busy arguing, Mystique changes her appearance and manages to shut them off. It's also one of the boldest moves of Mystique as she decides to reveal her identity and powers in front of the most powerful men and women in the country. Hats off to Mystique for her quick thinking and boldness, because at that moment, proof was the only thing Charles needed to remedy the situation.
Regent McTaggart has the lead on Sebastian Shaw, and if we don't move now, apparently we're going to lose him.
What?
Not only can he read minds, he can communicate with them as well.
Next up, we have Mystique saving Nightcrawler. Ever seen in a movie or TV series where a rescue mission goes horribly wrong? Well, if you've got shape-shifting powers like Mystique, this isn't going to be an issue at all. This scene happens when she saves Kurt Wagner, aka the Nightcrawler. The world now uses mutant fights as entertainment, and we can see Nightcrawler was someone who never deserved to be in it. Luckily, there's Mystique to save him from the situation. She seduces the nearest guard before taking him down and removing the light. She uses the chaos to shapeshift and finally save our teleporting mutant. This scene's a good example for how Mystique uses her strategy with her skill to do things both subtly and effectively. In the end, she managed to save Nightcrawler without turning the rescue mission into an in-house fight with the guards, which is what most superhero movies would do. With a subversion of cliches and a little bit of wit and skill from our superheroine herself, this is surely one of her best moments.
Let's get out of here.
When I get out of here, I'm gonna kill you myself.
Yeah, right.
Magneto abandoning Mystique comes in next. Long-term friendships are surely something to cherish, right? But if you're Magneto, those friendships only matter as long as you've got any value to him. In one of the climactic scenes of the last film of the original X-Men trilogy, Magneto takes down a group of 4 military vehicles alone just to save some fellow mutants. But even though the police are humans, they're a force to be reckoned with if you hand them over the power to take down mutants. But luckily, Magneto's saved when Mystique takes the bullet for him. With her powers gone, her blue skin fades away and she falls down powerless. Eric realizes that he's got no use for her without her powers and then abandons her.
I'm sorry, my dear. You're not one of us anymore.
This wasn't only the final appearance of Mystique in the original X-Men trilogy, but it also gave the character a tragic conclusion. Yet, Mystique putting her life before Magneto surely adds this to her best moments list.
It's a shame. She was so beautiful.
Up next, we have Mystique taking down Magneto. Now, this is the perfect payback for the time Magneto abandoned Mystique, because this time the roles are reversed and it's Mystique who takes down Magneto for good.
Are you still Charles's Raven? Or are you Mystique?
When Eric finally comes face to face with the president in this climactic scene in Days of Future Past, he's interrupted by a sentinel who prepares to attack him. While he's busy dealing with the giant robot, Mystique, disguised as the president, takes a shot at him, momentarily stunning Eric. The latter even boldly claims he was a better shooter.
You used to be a better shot.
Trust me, I still am.
What matters more in this scene is what happens in the aftermath when Mystique aims her pistol at the man who designed the Sentinels. Her decision whether or not to shoot Trask affects the timelines as a whole, and her one decision could have killed Xavier and the others in the original timeline. Being one of the most judgmental and badass moments of her character, this was one of the peak character moments of Mystique in the X-Men universe. Next, it's Mystique versus the soldiers. The Days of Future Past movie grants us with another amazing scene with Mystique where she takes down multiple opponents at once. Once she's in the base of William Stryker, she disguises herself as a military soldier and allows no soldier to recognize her. But when Stryker himself approaches her, she decides to kick off her mutant abilities and solely rely on her moves. She effectively takes down multiple soldiers at once, moving gracefully between one person to another and hitting them one by one. This scene showcased her combat abilities, especially when combat's not really involved in her mutant quirk. Despite that, Mystique seems to have loads of fighting skills as she takes down these highly trained military soldiers. Her fellow mutants give her a helping hand, but the majority was done by Mystique herself. Shape-shifting plus cool gymnastic moves that can take down groups of armed men? What doesn't this girl have?
I had that.
I know.
In the runner-up spot, we have Mystique attacking Trask's guards. Need a way to ruin a meeting? Just call him Mystique. In this case, it wasn't just a normal meeting, this was the meeting assembled by Trask to introduce the new mutant killing machines, the Sentinels. Just as Trask's about to unveil his machines, the device catches a mutant among them.
There has to be some kind of mistake.
My machines don't make mistakes.
Once it falls upon a disguised Mystique, she realizes the best way to get out of the situation is to knock out the people inside the room. So, once again, similar to her battle with Stryker's soldiers, Mystique shows her incredible skill when it comes to her reflexes. And let's not forget how she didn't have any help this time, so she had to handle all of this by herself. Finally, at number 1, we have Wolverine versus Mystique. Adamantium versus shape-shifting powers. Who's going to win that one? It's Mystique versus one of the strongest and toughest X-Men in the series. In this battle, Mystique transforms into Logan himself, making his friends dubious about what to do next. She takes the advantage to trap him and engage in hand-to-hand combat, giving her an edge over Logan. His powerful blades are no match for Mystique's fake ones, but her moves surely challenge Wolverine. Mystique also uses the advantage of close space to moving gracefully using the surroundings to her advantage. This even poses a challenge to Logan as he's not skilled with this type of fighting. However, sad to say that Wolverine somehow recognizes Mystique as she tries to deceive him for a second time.
You're not part of the group.
So, did Mystique teach you a lesson? Well, she taught me that having shape-shifting powers doesn't just make you strong and look cool, but that you also have to use both your skill and brain to get out of situations alive. Luckily, Mystique is a tactician, genius, and one of the most badass female characters in the X-Men series. And if X-Men were real, you'd sure be looking twice at your partners because you never know whether they're real or a shape-shifting woman in disguise. We've talked about our personal favorite moments here, highlighting those we think have shown off the best parts of Mystique. But what have been your favorite moments? And what do you think we've missed on our list? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a single one of our countdown videos. And also let us know which video you think that we should be doing next. I'll see you next time on the TV Regent.